why good conversations go wrong. The three gunas that I'm explaining today. So, have you ever finished a conversation and wondered what just happened? You started with the best of intentions. You wanted to explain yourself, to listen, to understand, but somewhere along the way, the conversation became tense. Voices changed, defensiveness appeared, or perhaps the other person simply shut down. What's interesting is that it isn't always the topic that causes the problem. Sometimes it is the state of mind we bring into the conversation. Today, I would like to share one of the most practical ideas Ayurveda offers, not just for communication, but for every relationship in our lives. It is called the three gunas. They are the three qualities of the mind that influence how we think, feel, and communicate. Once you begin noticing them, you will start recognizing them everywhere in yourself, in others, and in the conversations you have every day. And maybe even more importantly, you will discover that improving communication isn't always about finding better words. It is often about changing the state from which your words come. Before we explore the three gunas, I would like you to think about someone you know well. It could be your partner, a family member, a friend, or even yourself. Have you ever noticed that the same person can communicate very differently depending on the day? Sometimes they are patient and thoughtful, and sometimes they are restless and reactive. Sometimes they seem distant or uninterested. We often assume they have become a different person. Ayurveda would say something different. It suggests that different qualities are becoming more dominant in that moment. Those qualities are called the gunas. The first is sattva, the second is rajas, and the third is tamas. All three exist within each of us. The question isn't whether we have them. The question is which one is leading the conversation right now. So let's begin with sattva. Sattva is the quality of clarity, balance, and harmony. Think about the best conversation you have had recently. Maybe it wasn't because you both agreed. Maybe it was because you both genuinely listened. You felt heard. You felt respected. There was space to think before responding. There wasn't any urgency to prove who was right. That is sattva. Sattva doesn't remove disagreement, it changes how disagreement is approached. People speak with honesty. They also listen with curiosity. Imagine two people discussing an important decision. One says, "Help me understand how you are seeing this." The other responds, "I hadn't thought about it that way." Notice the quality of that conversation. No one is trying to win. They are trying to understand. That's sattva in action. And now let's look at rajas. Rajas is the quality of movement, activity, and intensity. Without rajas, we wouldn't achieve very much. It is the energy that helps us take action, solve problems, and create change. But when rajas becomes excessive, communication changes. We interrupt, we react before listening. We prepare our reply while the other person is still speaking. The goal quietly shifts from understanding to winning. Maybe you have experienced this. Someone says something that triggers you. Immediately, your mind starts building a defense. You are no longer listening. You are preparing your argument. The conversation becomes faster. The energy rises. Both people feel unheard. The interesting thing is that neither person usually intends for this to happen. They are simply caught in a rajasic state. One of the simplest ways to recognize rajas is to ask yourself, am I listening to understand or am I listening to respond? That single question has the power to change an entire conversation. And now let's look at tamas. Tamas is the quality of heaviness, inertia, and withdrawal. Like the other gunas, tamas isn't inherently bad. We need it for sleep, rest, and recovery. But when it dominates communication, conversations often become stuck. Someone says, I'm fine, but you know they're not. Questions receive one word answers. Eye contact disappears. Important issues remain unspoken. Sometimes people assume silence means peace, but not always. Sometimes silence is simply unexpressed emotion. Have you ever avoided a difficult conversation because it felt easier not to deal with it? Most of us have. That's often tamas at work. Again, the goal isn't judgment, it is awareness. And here's something I find fascinating. Imagine exactly the same conversation happening three different times. The words are almost identical, but the state of mind is completely different. In a sattvic state, two people remain curious. In a rajasic state, they become defensive. And in a tamasic state, one or both stop engaging altogether. Same topic, different outcome. And that's why communication isn't just about words, it is about the quality of mind from which those words are coming. In my clinical practice, I have often noticed that people come looking for better communication techniques. They are hoping for the perfect sentence, the perfect strategy. Those can certainly help, but I have found that communication improves most when people first become aware of their own state. Because if I'm speaking from frustration, even kind words may sound harsh. And if I'm speaking from fear, even simple questions may sound like criticism. And if I'm emotionally exhausted, I may not hear what's actually being said. Changing our inner state changes the conversation before we have spoken a single word. So, how can we apply this? The next time you are about to have an important conversation, pause for just a few seconds and ask yourself, what's happening within me right now? Am I calm and clear? Am I restless or agitated? Am I tired, withdrawn, or emotionally shut down? You don't need to analyze it deeply. Simply noticing is often enough. Awareness creates choice, and choice changes behavior. Sometimes the wisest decision isn't to continue talking immediately. Sometimes it is to take a walk, take a few slow breaths, have a meal, sleep on it, then return to the conversation from a different state of mind. People often think that delaying a conversation means avoiding it. Sometimes it is exactly the opposite. Sometimes it is creating the conditions needed for a better conversation. I also find it helpful to remember that the other person has an inner world we cannot see. They may be carrying stress from work. They may be grieving. They may not have slept well. They may be worried about something they haven't shared yet. We rarely know the whole story. That doesn't mean we excuse hurtful behavior, but it does invite compassion. And compassion changes the tone of communication. And if there is one idea I would love you to remember from today's video, it is this. Communication isn't just about the words we use. It is about the state of mind from which these words come. When we cultivate more clarity, patience, and presence, our conversations naturally begin to change. Not because we have memorized better communication techniques, but because we have become different communicators. Ayurveda reminds us that lasting change begins within. The quality we bring into a conversation often shapes the quality of the conversation itself. So the next time you notice yourself becoming reactive, pause for a moment, take one slow breath, ask yourself, which quality is leading me right now? That single moment of awareness may prevent an argument, repair a relationship, or simply help another person feel genuinely heard. And in today's busy world, that's a remarkable gift to offer. If this perspective has been helpful, I would love to hear from you. Which of the three qualities, Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas, do you recognize most easily in yourself during challenging conversations? So share your reflections in the comments. I read them and they often inspire future videos too. I have also written articles exploring how Ayurveda can help us understand relationships, communications, and emotional well-being in everyday life. You will find them on our website. And if you would like to continue exploring practical, evidence-informed Ayurveda, I would be delighted if you subscribe. So until next time, remember that every conversation begins long before the first word is spoken. Take care of the quality of your mind, and your words will often take care of themselves. Take a moment today to notice, not judge, the qualities that are present within you, because awareness is often the first step towards balance. And if you would like to continue these kind of conversations each month, I would love to welcome you into the Ayurveda Awareness Collective.